Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to a new episode of Hollywood Backlot with Lou and you. My name is VashSky, your host of today's ceremonies, and to my right is the one, the only, the specter with the amazing Hollywood nectar that you come here for. That is, I love you guys, Lou.
You know, the specter with the nectar has the flagon with the dragon, but the brew that is true is me and you.
That's pretty good. I should have had you write the intro there.
I don't write anything. I just thunk. But I did have the pleasure of knowing and actually cooking with Danny Kaye several times. So that one at least I should know. But
look at you. Now, I just to let everybody know, I am here. Trust me, I'm here. My camera, though, I was not able to find it before the show, and I got to be honest, I just came from FanFest nights last night. That went up until 2 in the morning. And by the time we got here back in Palm Springs, the sun was rising.
By the time I get to Palm Springs, the sun will be rising.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like, oh, I only have 3 maybe hours before I have to set up for the show right there. So I'm a little bit behind. If I find my camera in the middle of this show, then I'll be glad to turn it on for you. But I can assure you.
You mean that's not you next to the mouse?
Yeah.
Boy, all of my illusions are being shattered today, I tell you.
It's terrible. I know. What? Well, did you see who might be holding the mouse's hand? I don't know if you saw this. Let me see if I can share my screen right here to see this. Be by surprise. I am furiously trying to get it over to Marvin as quickly as possible because this one truly... Whoops, let me go ahead and share my screen here.
The suspense is killing us, I tell you.
I know. It's crazy. So... who's that right there? Holding Mickey's hand. So if you don't know the
famous haircut there, I don't remember Walt ever wearing it that way.
Yeah, sorry about that. If you don't remember or don't know where this comes from, let me see here. This is for the Disneyland 70th anniversary celebration, which you can see. Let me see. Yeah. This is what it should look like. So let me go ahead and put this on screen right now for you. That's what it should look like.
Okay.
But for some reason, it looks like this. Now, this is actually for the 70th anniversary decorations that are going up right now for the 70th anniversary. You can see this kind of Tower of the Four Winds inspired castle structure they're putting up in the middle of the Esplanade. That's the area between the two parks. And for some reason, they did not quite get that.
I think that's wonderful. There. You got to send me those pictures later.
Oh yeah.
God.
We're gonna send this in our back channels so that we can maybe get an article about this up because I thought I was like, whoa, this is very, very strange how this is working right here. But yeah, I actually met Five Fires, the Cali Bay, last night and FanFest, and he was like, hey, did you see this? I'm like, no. He's like, check this out. And so I want to thank Mondo for pointing this out to us because that's some big stuff right there. I don't know how you get that from this. I don't know how
somebody snuck through the cordon of what would we call it? The iron leftist curtain. I don't know. But
yeah, the iron leftist curtain indeed.
Now, if he has that haircut when they open the thing on Main Street, that'll be a little telltale giveaway, won't it?
Yeah, we actually talked to him about that, and he was like, he was hearing good things, and he was suspecting that they might actually implement a virtual queue system to see Walt in that show, but
a virtual queue for a virtual Walt.
Yeah, for a virtual Walt, indeed. I don't know if it's going to be accurate, but we'll see for sure. Now, we here on Hollywood Backlot with Lou and you, well, we talk about Hollywood Backlots all the time. And the cool thing about what happened yesterday, at least for me, was that I was able to finally embark on that backlot with my own 2 feet after being dropped off via tram. Let me see if I can bring some of this stuff up right here.
You had never strode the highways and byways of Universal before that? My goodness.
Yeah, not the backlot now.
Oh.
So that was pretty cool to be transported via tram to that backlot area and to embark on a little tour of Courtyard Square. So I'm going to go ahead and this is some of the footage that I was actually recording. And if you watch these channels enough, you might see this B-roll here in various places.
Yes.
But you can see it's a myriad of different experiences.
Does everybody out there know what that term is? I mean, we say it all the time, but I wonder sometimes when we do. B-roll is the stuff you roll when you're not on camera to set the place and the time so you can see whatever the heck you want and not be stuck with it. That's a short version, but...
You can kind of see here. And now these, what you're seeing right now is the Star Trek experience that they have over there at FanFest Nights. This is a nightly event that is taking place on multiple nights in the month of May, or did they actually premiere? Yeah, I think it premiered in April. And it's kind of like Halloween Horror Nights meets Comic-Con.
That's a good... if they had a baby, this would be it, right?
This would be it. And it's super, super cool. These sets that you're actually seeing right here are actually...
They're the real ones, right? From Picard.
From Picard Season 3. Yeah. Which is super cool. So...
From the famous getting the gang back together scenes.
Right. And not only are you going through these experiences that are actually pretty decent, but you're in and amongst Hollywood history with these screen-used props, sets, items, and so forth. But what we want is, and obviously, this is Harry Potter right here, which people have seen for a long time, and is in the news. I don't know if you've been hearing LW Ghost about Harry Potter and what's been going on there with casting choices, and for some people who have been cast, having some very strong opinions about certain things going on in the UK.
Shut up and sing.
Yeah.
Shut up and dance. Do your job. Just because you're famous doesn't make your opinion any more valuable than anybody else's. So keep them to yourself. It's my opinion.
Prefer that's how that went. But there you go. You can see the castle right there, which is always good. But what we want is this. So this is the we're taking off right here from the tram load-unload area because...
so you're in the tram taking the area. Yeah, otherwise I was going to say, who let you on the other side of that load area? That's dangerous.
Yeah, very dangerous. So you can see the plethora of sound stages. Now, Lou, do you notice that black building back there at all?
Black building, my goodness, yes.
Yes. It's a special place amongst long-term Universal.
I wonder if Glenn Howard is home.
Yeah,
up on top at the penthouse.
Yep.
But
you can see right there, and you were talking about, Lou, how the sound stages for every single various studio were painted in such a way that you can kind of identify them. I believe Universal has changed their paint scheme on these
a little bit. Yes, it used to be not quite so dynamically gray.
Yeah,
but anyway, but Universal's always been kind of the gray place, as Warner Brothers is the warm cream place with the faux Spanish red accents. Right. And Paramount's gray too, come to think of it. But
yeah,
and Fox is kind of Roman. I don't know, but here we go.
You can see right here, you're transported via tram to the area of Courthouse Square, the same area where Back to the Future was originally filmed back in 1985, 84, 83. And you can see how they've recreated a lot of the iconography from that film and have done it lovingly so. Those props, those line of sight props, I don't know if those are the same ones from the film.
I'm pretty sure they are. They've kind of floated around the backlot over the years. They've obviously fixed them up a little bit, but
right.
Those have been around the backlot forever in various places. Sometimes just kind of gathering dirt on the sideways, and sometimes more prominent for the tram to drive by and look at them. But
yeah, because I saw them multiple times in multiple different areas. You're totally right about that. I just didn't know if they had got rid of them and then had to regrade them again. I'm not sure, but I think those are the same ones. And if they are, that's super cool. And that's kind of how your journey starts. Reutilizing the stuff that has really been part of the backlot for years and years and years as part of the tour experience or various props and so forth that you drive by. But now you get to interact and take photos among them. So this is really, really cool.
Well, what's really gotten me from all the footage I've seen of this so far is how extensively these people playing the characters or the streetmosphere or whatever you want to call it have clearly rehearsed and are really into their parts.
Yeah. And they're so into their parts. I was able to interact with a couple of characters, maybe a little bit of Marty, but sometimes Doc. So, Doc was kind of walking around this area and just kind of playing it cool in character, of course, as the show plays out. There's like a 30-minute loop or so of various characters going through the roles in the timeline of the story. So,
one thing about actually being there. Mm-hmm. Of course, all those streets that lead off of this go off into all the other New York streets at Universal. And in the original movie, it wasn't supposed to be that big a town, so they carefully excluded those from the angles.
Right.
I mean, it was the courthouse square. Every little town in the South has a big courthouse like that in the middle because that's where they were showing off civic pride and power. Sure. But usually it was that square and that's it, and a couple other buildings, and after that you were in the boonies. But here, of course, we have all of Universal beyond there, all the New York stuff, all the Chicago stuff.
And it's just so amazing. You can see right here, Doc just kind of hanging out between skits. I think this is right before Marty actually goes up to him and says, "Hey, Doc, I'm from the future or whatever." And, as this show was playing on, I kind of went up to Doc and I said, "Hey, look, listen, Doc, do you have a permit for this weather experimentation that's going on here, with the lines and everything like that?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, sure I do. Let me go ahead and show you." And he moves over a 20. Says, "Here you go. Here's my permit." I'm like, "Oh, that's perfect."
I've done that myself, actually. That's funny. Years ago, when I had season tickets for the Dodgers, I got tickets when they were in the playoffs against the Mets, at Shea Stadium. And a friend of mine who lived in New York, up in Poughkeepsie, I said, "If you'll put me up and drive, I'll have the tickets. We'll go to the games." So we're driving up to the first night. They had us way over in the Forest Hills Tennis Stadium, and it was a long walk through a spooky neighborhood on the way back to the car. Next day, I said, "We're not doing that again." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Come on." And we head for this gate with a cop. And I pulled out a 20 and I said, "Excuse me, but the president says I'm supposed to park here." He says, "Right this way, sir." And we parked right next to the stadium. And my friend, who was a New Yorker, looked at me shocked, like, "I don't believe you did that." And I said, "What the heck? It's New York, And and because of that, when the game was over, I watched the last out. We got in the car and I was flying back out of LaGuardia, and I was still flying over the stadium on the way out of town when I saw the traffic still leaving the stadium, so it's good to use a little grease here and there.
Sometimes you got to grease the palms, right? But they were having a really, really fun time and really, really into their characters, and it was really, really awesome to see. By the way, Eric Stratton, I went ahead and adjusted my audio just a little bit so I can balance that with Lou. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, sounds good.
That's okay. Good. And so I just... how into the roles they actually were, the performances that they're actually giving. I mean, these are top-notch actors, and they were really, really into it. And it was the enthusiasm was great because, and I was kind of making the remark to somebody I was with. It was like, well, there's so many people dressed up as Marty here. How can you tell which one is the real one? Well, you can tell because of the amount of animation that they're putting into their performance. They just stick out like a sore thumb, and that's what you want. you can see right here reenactment of the
And
enchantment.
I saw
of
a clip of a girl in the Harry Potter section dressed up like I guess a station master for the train or something, and she was really animated, and everybody is really putting on the show.
They're really putting on the show. That's so cool.
And you understand, folks, this takes a lot of setup to make this happen. All of those lights you saw in those windows up there, this thing is not normally lit. It's normally an empty shell, and it's dressed for the particular production it's being used for. So there's...
And we were remarking, let me see if I can go back just a little bit here, with that one shot that kind of shows this. I think I was, I forget who I was with. Maybe it was a theme park wizard or Sean ranking the mouse, but we were remarking about how dressed up this was, and I was actually telling somebody who was actually there what you just said, Lou, that it takes a lot to dress up this backlot like this. And I actually quoted you in saying that, because it's like, look, to dress these things up, they're minimalist. From the standpoint,
well, and on purpose. I mean, if you want to make it 1880s, you put dirt on the ground and you put gas lights in the street lights. And if you want to make it, the future, as in the movies, you do things to that. So a good set is a blank slate, because you don't invest the kind of money it takes to build these things to use them once. Yeah. Although there have been stories and histories of people investing in them and then everybody else. Well, a good example, the Three Stooges. Mm-hmm. The Three Stooges was done at the Columbia lot in Hollywood. And Columbia was making all these high-class, elegant comedies and romances. And when the people from the Stooges came on those sets and said, well, this one's going to be done tomorrow, can we go on the next day and throw pies? So that's why in those relatively cheap Three Stooges shorts, you see all of these elegant rooms and people in grand gowns and crystal chandeliers. They didn't have the money to spend that on a Three Stooges movie, but since it was already there, what the heck? You use it before they undress it. So
sure. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. It's
what classed up those little movies. It made them bigger than they would have been otherwise, because again, they didn't have the budget for that.
I love starting guitarist right here. He noticed. Yeah, it didn't quite look period correct to me, or I should say, identical to the one that was actually used in the film. But obviously Marty's not actually playing, so that plays into it a little bit. But I think they got enough of the details correct to the point where you kind of believe what was going on. Obviously, Marty too doesn't wear that outfit during that scene, but really, really good. Yeah, Principal Strickland is great right here, and yes, going Shogi. The longest line by far was the meet and greet, because it's the DeLorean and the dog. Which, by the way, they had 2 sets of dogs, Lou.
Well, sure, they get tired.
Yeah, they were meeting and greeting there, which I'll get into in just a second. But in the amazing climax of this whole piece here, this whole 30-minute loop that plays, is obviously the Back to the Future DeLorean going back in time there. I know they were doing tests on the backlot to try to get a real DeLorean, to try to go, to ramp it up to a good speed and have this kind of show with this with drones and everything else, but they weren't able to get it up in time.
Next year.
Yeah. Next year, I think, it's got to come back. And this area was packed, Lou. I mean, people were really...
Oh, I was going to say, there are many more people there than in some of the earlier footage I saw from other people. So
yeah,
clearly the word has gotten out.
Word's gotten out, and I know a lot of people who were there for the first couple of nights actually came back on subsequent nights just to absorb everything. So it's definitely a repeat event for sure. And you can see right there, they play the conclusion there, which we'll skip ahead just a bit. And you can see...
Looks like a lot of fun to me.
Oh, yes. You can hear like lightning in the distance, and you got some flashes on the facades around you.
More storm than you ever get in Los Angeles. So.
Yes, indeed.
Mostly.
Yeah, mostly. And then you can see right here. Let's go ahead and go forward just a little bit more. This is pretty cool because it provides a real great climax to what you just experienced. And the famous moment, obviously, clock tower strikes, pyro, and then Doc comes out, which is pretty good. So I thought this was really cool, really well done. I'll let the footage play as we talk about it. This right here is Biff's car from the film that's been in the backlot as a show car, right?
Sure.
As a screen used vehicle that you drive by, but now it's actually on display as part of the show that people can kind of go up to and interact with, which I found surprising, I must say.
Well, they keep most of the good ones. Some of them, my favorite Universal show car of all time is, alas, Gone with the Wind. I don't know where, but that would be Banachek's Victoria Packard, which, oh, God, what a car. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, and I know a lot of these cars, they're outside.
Well, yeah, but again, it's outside it's a dry heat, California. So
yeah,
when you're ready, you fix them up. Just like the blank streets, the cars don't get a lot of attention until it's time for them to be on stage.
That's a fair point. Fair point. But you can see more of those facades, those windows lit up, the curtains draped over some of those. That really isn't part of that usually. Mm-hmm. You can see lighting rigs that have been put on top of the facades in order to illuminate everything like that. I just thought it was really, really well done. And you can see a crowd forming right there. The reason why that crowd is there is because there's a skit playing it amongst the characters that is pretty cool. That you have various skits throughout this forecourt here. You can see Lorraine's friend interact with Marty here. So there's not only interactions between you and these characters, but also between each other as they play out certain scenes from the film, or even make entirely new ones in order to fill in parts of the story. That was pretty cool. Yeah, I know, right? Very immersive indeed. I do agree. What about the Phantom Rolls Royce that Matt Houston drove? That was a beautiful car. Interesting.
Yes. I remember there used to be a green Rolls in Beverly Hills. You'd see it all the time. Mm-hmm. And the license plate frame said rented.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And there was another one. You could buy a license plate. There was an outfit at the LA County Fair all the time that sold funny license plate frames. And one of them said, "My other car is a Tonka."
That's great. That's fantastic. Yeah, it was really hot yesterday. I mean, we stepped out of our vehicle that we used to actually get to Universal Studios Hollywood. It was 99 degrees on the on the dash right there. I was like, whoa, that's pretty hot. And it didn't cool until very, very late in the evening. So that was very unfortunate.
No, it doesn't this time of year.
Job.
But it's a dry heat.
It's a dry heat indeed. I'm sure that's going to be the excuse by many when you talk about the Abu Dhabi Disney park, but we'll see how that goes as well. Let me go ahead and look up some box office information here, Lou. But do you have any stories or any particular events in your life involving this segment of the backlot here?
Oh, well, I mean, I used to walk through there more or less every day, but not every day because we were off in a corner compared to here. But, it was, behind actually the stages that are behind that side of the square is the paint shop at Universal. And I remember gripping on those stages. And every day the tour would go by and they had to say, and over on the right is our paint shop where we make new things look old and old things look new. No. And after about 10 tours, my gang of 5 grips said it along with the tour guides. They were not happy, but we had fun. She had a whole chorus joining her in her description. So,
well, there you go.
You know, the stuff you do to
stuff you do indeed.
Break up the day.
Let's see here. Yeah, Biff not doing so well after his encounter with George McFly there. Very, very funny indeed. Let me go ahead and we'll come back to this in just a moment. I want to go ahead and bring in some box office information here.
Oh, good.
Because that's one of the things I love going over with Lou on Sundays because, well, the numbers happen to drop. Let's see here. Minecraft movie Jumanji.
Really?
Welcome to the Jungles, $404.5 million. Jurassic Park's $407.2 million. Spider-Man, $407. Hunger Games, $408. Civil War's $408. And Iron Man 3's $409 runs as 44th 44 highest grossing film ever at the U.S. box office as Jack Black and Jason Momoa's PG film grossed a strong $8 million on the 6th 3-day weekend, just a 42% drop from the last weekend, despite losing 103 theaters yesterday. Pretty significant. What I am continually fascinated about how much resonated with audiences. Do you have any ideas of what that could have been?
Well, I think this film is getting something we used to have all the time on hit movies, and it's dropped off. Repeat business. The people who didn't have popcorn to throw the first time are going back second time to do it, I think. Some of them. You know, and what is this I see where supposedly they're going to re-release Cinderella in 1,200 or 1,500 theaters next week? And I'm going, you know, what's the ad campaign going to be? It's not as bad as you heard. Honest. Come see.
Disney's Snow White will be re-released in 1,200 plus theaters domestically this weekend. I saw that, and I was
that's called we have some empty houses and we don't want to leave them dark. So
I threw it to our back channels, and I'm just like, what is going on?
Yeah, well, I was going to say the movies that are doing well are letting them staff up the theater full. So as long as they got the bodies there to sell popcorn and whatever, they might as well put something on the screen, I guess. But I don't know. I don't think they would otherwise, is what I'm saying, if they were going to keep those houses dark because it let them cut down on staffing. But I don't know. I don't know. It's only gonna show what total disinterest there is, and it comes out on streaming here any day too. So
yeah, let me go ahead and look up the date.
See, and this is as I've been saying, this is the downside. There has been this argument that the theaters, you understand, folks, the theaters get a small percentage at the front, and as the run goes on, they get a bigger and bigger one. Well, that's great if the run goes on. And they're saying, well, we would like the studios to guarantee us a window of like 6 or 8 weeks before they put it on streaming, so we can have a chance of seeing our higher percentage come in. The problem is, if nobody's going, then you're stuck with it for 6 or 8 weeks, filling a theater that isn't filling with people. So the law of unintended consequences kicks in that case, and many more.
I really don't know what with this you know, re-release, I guess, or this limited wide run or something like that. I don't even know how to be honest with you.
You know, some of the possibility of this is only possible because of the fact of digital distribution. You know, if you were literally having to make prints and send them out and get them back, it wouldn't be worth the effort or the expense. But what most people don't know about digital exhibition, you think, well, they download it to the hard drive on the projector and then they got it all week. No. Every one of these digital projectors is tied into the sky, and at every showtime, it has to get a go or no go. And that is to keep the theaters from holding on to the money too long. They literally have to get approval to run your show. So that happened when theaters would do things like say that on 4th of July weekend, they had rain, so they didn't open the theater. Bullshit. There were all kinds of games being played by exhibitors in those days.
Yeah.
But these digital projectors have to get an approval code sent to them for every single showing, and if they don't, the light doesn't come on, or it does, but it doesn't show anything.
I thought that was really interesting when you originally went over that, Lou. About this, the sync that has to happen, because the games that theaters would play were I mean, they were wild, and I guess I just didn't think about it, but yeah, everybody's trying to game whatever systems that they are in, including, I guess, theater owners and studios and everything else. So very, very interesting.
Well, it's like saying, well, how dare they mess up our theaters and make us clean them up by throwing this popcorn? But we're going to have a special screening where we encourage you to throw the popcorn. And by the way, we're sorry. Have you noticed, by the way, there is a phrase that's showing up in headlines about every single thing out there that says, because of disturbing customer behavior, whether it's a pizza chain going out of business or somebody not buying this. Anyway, the idea that they're going to make a better theater going environment by encouraging people to drink and encouraging people to do hemp products and all the rest of it. That's not an unintended consequence. That's a nuts consequence. Juliet, no, I'm not. Juliet's asking about my big news. I'm having some technical difficulties, so it may be another week or two before I get it going. But when I do, you will know, and thank you for asking. I have a new expansion of my presence that I'm planning to do. So I just have to get the damn machines to work. Frustrating. Anyway.
Well, we'll keep track of it, folks. Don't worry. I know Lou is very excited about it, and we will let you know when that news.
Well, people. Thank you all for being so welcoming. Pro tells me that whenever I'm not on something, he gets, "Where's Lou? Where's Lou? Where's Lou?" Well, keep it up. And the answer is, I'm here when I can be, and when I can't, I can't. And that's life.
That's life.
What? No cocaine? Ken, what are you talking about? No, I don't. No more. I'm tired of waking up on the floor. No, thank you, please. It only makes me sneeze, and then it makes it hard to find the door. Hoyt Axton. That was a great song.
Oh, yeah. I love this headline from Forbes there. Disney's flop Snow White debuts on digital streaming this week. So the same week it's going back into theaters on a
they had to identify it as such in the headline. I love it.
Yeah. Really had to hit it home there. Per a listing on Prime Video, Snow White is set to arrive on digital.
Speaking of flopping and not flipping and whatever.
Yeah.
Did anybody else find it fascinating as I did that in the big earnings call, when Big Bob talked about Thunderbolts, he never called it the New Avengers. So does that mean that A, they've dropped that idea, or B, they hadn't introduced it to the rest of the world and he didn't want anybody to be confused? The other thing they never mentioned in the deal about Abu Dhabi honeymoon is that they never mentioned all of this alleged renovation that's going to go on in Japan, which they'll also get paid handsomely for. Yeah. And when you consider all the many millions that they will get between those two deals, making a new park and making major changes to the old one, you have to sit back and say, what if? What if you didn't spend as much as you spent on reshoots with all of these movies? What if instead of trying to make up for losses, you were making profits? What if? What if? What if? So anyway, thank you, everybody. Oh, well, of course, they could go back to original recipe Coca-Cola, Ken Reichert. You about the booze and the hemp. And Juliet, thank you. I am not in a position to overdo. I must underdo at the moment. I'm going through a few little health wrinkles, but they're getting fixed, and I'll be fine.
Oh, yeah.
And if I'm not, you'll know, because they'll be, where's Lou? Answer. he's really a ghost. So, you know, but happily I have very good genes, and they say you're going to have me for another 20 years or so. So I'm trying to make that a reality, and a good, you know, everybody talks about longevity. Nobody talks about quality.
Yes.
There's no point in living 10 or 20 years longer if you feel like crap every day. And, you know, I don't intend to do that. So anyway.
Yeah, there's no reason to stay in theaters if it's going to be a bad movie, right?
Well, yeah, right.
Longevity. I was just...
You know what that reminds me of? I remember when you used to get Bazooka Joe comics inside of Bazooka bubblegum?
Yes.
And there was one where Bazooka Joe goes to the gypsy fortune teller. And he says, I want to know, there's a big final exam this week. Am I going to pass? And the gypsy says, why do you want to know? He says, because if I'm going to pass, why should I bother to study? And if I'm going to fail, why should I bother to study? So you can make it work whichever way you want to make it work. Anyway.
I guess so, for sure. Yeah, Bazooka Joe comics. I can't... Man, that's a trip right there.
The gum was long before the rocks, Ken.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And
so I love Luis Fernando because he really has a lot of data connected to his tweets and references that create definitely a backdrop for what's going on around us. Luis Fernando. Thunderbolts posts a $33.1 million second 3-day weekend at U.S. box office. Florence Pugh didn't skip Squat's day, a minus 55.5%. Number 13 best drop in MCU history. And number 4 best post-COVID. See below, the New Avengers hits $124.4 million USQ.
Those are all fascinating numbers, but the question is, drop from what?
Yeah. Yep.
Right? In other words, if the drop was, first of all, if the first week was huge, it's because they generated a sense of urgency in the fan base that said, I got to see this and I got to see it the first week. So if you had twice the business the first week, dropping to 50% meant maybe that second week was only equal to what is now a first or less.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yep.
So.
Yeah, so you can see right here, for example... Let's see, Endgame, right? You're thinking, 60% drop. That's not great. But remember, Endgame, when it started out, was massive. I mean, every single theater was full.
And
so I think Lou is absolutely spot on here.
60% of a zillion is still a lot of zillions, you know? So
yeah. I think with an A- cinema score, it might leg out okay. It's just the problem, though, is that its initial box office wasn't that high. We also do have a worldwide cum here. Thunderbolts approaches the $300 million mark at global box office after grossing $34 million in the second weekend overseas, with Black Widow's $29.9 million, which, by the way, that was it was released on streaming as well. So there you go. Shang-Chi, 35.2, Captain America 4, 33.3, Black Adam, 39, Quantumania, 46, Eternals, 48, a harsh 60.7% drop from opening.
I see my friend Lauren in the chat talking about, instead of the Gypsy Fortune Teller, it's Roma Tarot Reader. I noticed something. The new incarnation of the character that was played by Maria Ospinskaya in the original Wolfman at Epic Universe, a Dark Universe, they call a seer, S-E-E-R. That's their official reworking of that to avoid offending anybody. So,
I see. A seer. Not a fortune teller, a seer.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I guess that means that the Fortune Teller Main Street is going to be rebranded and rethemed.
Yes. I wonder what that officially says. I haven't looked at that sign in forever.
Let me see here. Let me see if I can look it up. And I'll tell you.
They've probably played with it, and with Shrunken Head Ned, whatever the thing in Adventureland.
Which, by the way, there was the amazing Eddie Setup.
Yes, which was basically the character from the Adventurers Club, the Colonel, redone. But Esmeralda, all it says is Esmeralda. Okay, so they're not.
It says Esmeralda. Let's see here.
And audio animatronics. Sure, it is. It's a dummy that wiggles. I mean, come on, guys.
Little loose with the language there.
Well, maybe it was designed by the same people that did the Louis crocodile in Tiana. Anyway, sure, she's an animatronic.
Let's see.
Well, I tell you one thing they've done to her over the years. They've made her younger. Used to be the wizened old seer. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting. I never really thought about it, but you know, the very astute Lou strikes again. That's interesting.
Get an 8-ball, Lauren. Lauren says, I love fortune-telling machines and love to have one. Get a magic 8-ball.
Yeah. There you go. That's very, very interesting. Yeah, I think they have changed their appearance over the years.
If that's an original animatronic from back when, wouldn't it be something if somebody broke it, pulled off the mask, and there was Blaine Gibson's original Lincoln behind the face?
That would be very interesting.
Her hands are awfully big, aren't they? Anyway.
Yeah. You know, you gotta watch out for that, Lou. You're in California. You know, you never know.
Yeah. Zoltan and big, yeah.
Subtle joke for everybody out there. But very, very interesting there. I am shocked that, as I think Justin Scard lovingly calls Chimberly, the Native American out there representing the cigar store Indian, is still there on Main Street and Frontierland for that matter.
Yeah, well, I saw somebody had done a AI thing on Facebook today. I think I put the link somewhere in our back channels. If all the Disney princesses were bikers, it was pretty darn clever.
That is pretty good. Oh wow, that's something for sure. But
well, of course, once upon a time, you could buy a cigar there, couldn't you? Or for cigarettes or whatever.
Yes.
But no more. Never gum. And it wasn't because they hated gum. It was because they hated trying to peel it off the sidewalk.
Correct.
So.
Correct. But yeah, there was a tobacco shop back there, and now it's been various things over the years, but yeah, that they used to sell cigarettes and everything else because Walt smoked himself. So there you go, right? You can see
but never on camera, right? Yeah.
Yeah, never. When he was being photographed, those pesky cigarettes, they just go away magically on their own.
Oh, that's what killed him. Right, so there's that.
And you can see Frontierland's right there, which, by the way, the Shooting Arcade, I am actually very surprised, too, that is still there. Obviously, that being a product of the West and Western, Old West culture.
But they covered up all the holes for the fort to shoot out, right?
Yeah, in Magic Kingdom they did.
Magic Kingdom, yeah, right.
They haven't done that yet in Disneyland, and I'm kind of surprised because you would think that Disneyland clientele would be maybe a little bit more sensitive to that.
Oh, I don't know. Hey, as long as the quarters keep going in the slots, I guess it's like, we'll be. Wait, am I seeing 75 cents now?
Yeah.
I remember when they were BB guns, they would take this tube of BBs and shove it in the gun for you before you shot.
Right. That's a very interesting little thing there, isn't it? It's so fascinating because there used to be an Adventureland arcade at a certain point, which was
there were two of them, one in Adventureland and one in Frontierland.
And
difference being the theming of the targets.
Yes. And Fess Parker, who played
Davy Crockett. And Daniel Boone. But Davy Crockett most famously for Disney, of course.
Absolutely. He participated in the opening day festivities for Disneyland, especially for that July 17th special on TV, Disneyland. And do you remember the song that Fess Parker and everybody sang to to kind of highlight the frontierland-ness of Disneyland.
Not the Davy Crockett anthem, or
It wasn't the Davy Crockett anthem. It was Hey Betsy.
Oh yeah,
Hey,
okay.
Betsy, to his
Betsy
rifle.
was his gun.
So the part of the choreography is, whoa, you know, and everybody kind of holds up pantomime rifles there, bang, and like it's part of the choreography, and it's a big deal. And he talks about everybody that he shot there.
It's got to be better than I was talking about during that on Ron's show when he was running that celebration clip that shows Darth Vader and the stormtroopers boogie woogieing and in oh God, I'm going. So in a galaxy far, far away, they all dance like Disco 75, right? Oh boy.
Yeah, exactly. It's just
I said in space, no one can hear you boogie woogie.
Yeah, it's great.
There's Betsy.
There's Betsy, and I thought that was very, very interesting how we, you know, like 70 years, right? How it's the effects of not only culture, but how culture has impacted the Walt Disney Company, and obviously the company has changed hands.
And his company still makes some damn fine wine, folks. And if you're ever up in Los Olivos, he's got a wonderful, luxurious hotel up there, and then the winery, and both are very worth visiting. Absolutely. So
wow, and those coonskin hats, by the way, very popular in the 1950s. In fact, to go back to our original topic of Back to the Future, you'll see one of the kids that Marty has a dinner with when it's basically his family at that point. One of the kids is wearing a coonskin cap, and Davy Crockett is playing on some kind of record store or something like that. They're selling the records of Davy Crockett in Hill Valley as he's walking around there. This was so big, folks. Davy Crockett was huge for the Walt Disney Company. It was massive, and really did help fund the creation of Disneyland from the company's coffers there. And I believe, Lou, I heard a statistic back in the day that the amount of coonskin caps sold nationwide, it was like more than $1 billion.
Yeah, I believe it, and that's in money from then, not converted for inflation.
Yes, I don't believe it was converted for inflation. I think that was like a raw figure. Now,
I think that was the last. That was the last major cultural craze before the Beatles.
Yeah.
Before the English invasion in the music scene.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Probably some of the same kids as they grew up went from Beavers to Beatles.
Yeah. Maybe with a little Space Boy in between there.
Well,
it was a fascinating time, and now the Walt Disney Company didn't obviously own the rights to coonskin caps exclusively. Obviously, that had been
it was Disney's Daniel Boone or Disney's Davy Crockett. Not Daniel Boone, but. So it's just like everything else. They didn't create the Little Mermaid or Cinderella or Snow White either, but they had their version.
There you go. They had their version.
And then of course the song I loved was when they did and of course it led to the ride, the Keelboats. With Mike Fink, King of the River.
Yes.
That great song about dun 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 when they're in rhythm with them poling those keelboats. He's Mike Fink, King of the River, with the red feather in his cap. That was the symbol of him being the King of the River. So it was the King of the River versus the King of the Wild Frontier. The Bertha May was the one that Davy and company were on, and the Gully Wumper was Mike Fink's boat.
Ah, okay. We can see the Bertha May here. I'm going to go ahead and try to blow this up because this is a very small photo. You see right there. This is actually a Magic Kingdom.
Yes.
Tell by.
Well, I rode it many times at Disneyland, that's for sure.
Yep. And you can see right here, this is actually Disneyland. So this would have been, judging by the film and the fact that Big Thunder's there probably 81, 79, 80, something like that. But you can see that the Mike Fink keel boats were very much used.
Oh yeah. Well, one more way to get people going around the river seeing the sights,
Right, but
and everybody who saw them wanted to go over there and get on the raft and go over to the island and go through Injun Joe's cave and all the rest of it. So,
and these were, like you mentioned before, these were the ones used for filming. And Walt, never missing a trick, just brought them over to Disneyland, and there you go. Like, now it's an attraction that the park can actually utilize. And they
modified them somewhat. There wasn't all that seating on the roof in the movie,
sure.
but.
Oh, yes. Well, that goes without saying. But you can see a couple pictures of their implementation. I thought they made it Disneyland Paris as well, but I had to check. Anyway, you can see Disneyland and Walt Disney World utilizing these. Obviously, Walt Disney Worlds were recreations. But unfortunately, there was an accident in which one of these tipped over. And that's what stopped those.
And that was the end of that.
1990s. Yeah.
But of course, the other thing was that the real ones, or quote unquote real, but there were real ones in the Old West, but on the rivers, were not powered by a motor. They were powered by guys walking down that side deck with poles, because the river was shallow enough that you could push off the bottom.
Oh, I see.
They literally, 6 guys or 8 guys on a side, and they'd shove the pole down and walk back. And in the process, they were pushing the boat forward.
Oh.
And then they had a little sail up on top, but that was all dependent on the luck of the draw. There's an old saying, you can't alter the wind, but you can adjust your sails. Well, if there's no wind, you can't do either one. But anyway.
Wow.
The Mark Twain.
Yeah.
The Mark Twain.
It is beautiful, and hopefully will stay with us forever.
That was my bucket list experience on my last trip to Disneyland, was driving it.
Yeah.
That was
fun.
We
got it, and we've if I have that photo, I'll share it with everybody.
No. It has my face on it. We don't share that photo.
Wow.
We can show the POV, but
the POV.
Okay. You can see Galaxy's Edge, a building.
Yes. If I find it, I'll post it here. But just super awesome, and I just love how Disneyland. We've covered this before, but I just love how Disneyland is, really. The creation of it came from the minds of people with set design and theatrical design,
and we forget how primitive the tech was. I mean, I've told this story probably 45 times, but what the heck? Somebody out there hadn't heard it yet.
Please.
About opening day and the Twain and how it almost sank.
Yeah.
Because the hull and the engines were all built at Todd Shipyards in San Pedro in LA Harbor and trucked up to the park. And the superstructure was all built on a soundstage at the studio and trucked down to the park. And they were united at the park. And there was no CAD cam. There was no computer to figure it out. And they said, well, we don't know what the capacity is exactly. It's a big, flat-bottomed thing, even though it is on a guide track. And they let everybody on. And that was swell. Except when they started to approach the end of the ride and people saw the dock was coming and said, oh, we'll be the first ones off to do something else. There's one of my POVs, yeah. Mm-hmm. And we'll go over to that one side where we know we got on, and the whole thing started to tip.
Yeah.
And the decks went awash, and they quickly counted as people got off at what point it leveled, and then they counted the people and they said, okay, that's the capacity. That's the way you did things before the days of computers and tech and whatever. And by golly, it worked. And the boat didn't sink. What a surprise.
Harper.
But it almost did.
It's so crazy when you think about it. Harper Goff, who was a famous set designer and did a lot of work.
Oh, Shanna, you're talking my language. The Scarecrow.
Oh, Scarecrow.
The southern coast of England, there's a story people tell about a man who would ride with a fearsome cry and ride from the gates of hell. And he'd laugh with a fiendish yell. Yeah. Scarecrow, Scarecrow.
Oh, boy.
There's Harper. Yeah.
Yeah, Harper Goff, who did a lot of the work on Main Street.
I don't know if I told you, but related to my landlord here.
Really?
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, well, that's very interesting. I did not know that. You're going to have to tell me all about that when after the show. But you can see the Golden Horseshoe Review over there in the corner. The interior, Walt wanted a certain way, based on a certain movie. I can't remember which movie it was for the life of me right now. But really wanted to be to emulate that. And Harper Goff happened to do the interior design of that film. So he just basically recreated it, but obviously for a more permanent setting. But just to illustrate how they used to do things back in the day, folks, Harper Goff did a lot of work for Adventureland, especially the Jungle Cruise, and figured out the route for it. And the way he did that was he took one stick in one hand, another stick in the other hand, and basically plopped them down on either side of him, and created the pathways for the famous Jungle Cruise.
Yep.
That's how that.
And the reason why, people are saying, well, Epic looks great, but the trees aren't grown in yet. Well, the reason the trees, and especially the bamboo, was so grown in the Jungle Cruise is that they were building the 5 freeway through Orange County, and the Disney cruise went along and got in front of them and said, "You're going to tear this out? Can we have it?" They said, "Sure, take it away." And they have 150-year-old bamboo growing on opening day that was transplanted from the path of the freeway. And that's why the jungle was a real jungle.
And which I can't remember the horticulturalist's name, but it's a famous gentleman. The name escapes me right now, but the other way that they would try to get more exotic plants and so forth was to take a lot of the orange groves that they had and turn them upside down and plant them that way, so that they would look far more exotic than they actually were and so forth. So there's a lot of techniques. And again,
and of course, they supposedly went through and marked all the trees they wanted to keep.
Yeah.
And which ones they wanted to tear down with colored flags. Then they hired a bulldozer driver who was colorblind.
Ooh.
And he knocked down a lot of stuff that they wanted to keep.
But
that's life.
That's life indeed. And it was just, but it's, film guys, seat of the pants kind of thing. Like, hey, you get it work. You make it work. And if you're setting up for a shot, right? It's just whatever does work for.
And that's what movies do.
Absolutely.
We problem solve.
Yep.
You say, well, I can't get you 50 extras. I can only get you 20. Well, then we got to shoot it this way so they look like 50 or whatever.
Right. Exactly. You just make it work. And I think that's beautiful. Problem solvers. I think that's really what you kind of pay for, to solve the issue. Because there's always going to be an issue, whether it be budget, technological limitations, whatever.
Well, and I had a very expert director once. When I was telling him that I didn't think a particular shot that he laid out would work and why, and he said, "That's swell, but don't just bring me it doesn't work. Bring me an idea on how to fix it." Doesn't mean I'll use your idea, but always bring a solution, not just a problem. And that's a good attitude for all things in life.
I agree. I think that's fantastic. And to conclude our show, I think this is brilliant right here. Eric Stratton with the 777. Thank you so much for that. Wow. In 1975, my family visited Walt Disney World. My sibs, ages 6 to 16, spent most of our time on Tom Sawyer's Island. It was our, quote, Diagon Alley. I agree. That's great stuff. And again, Tom Sawyer's Island, well, that was birthed from the mind of Walt Disney himself and designed by him, and obviously putting a lot of that theatrical talent to the test there. And
also understanding that if you put the crowd in the right atmosphere, you didn't have to build a multi-million-dollar attraction to entertain them. They'd entertain themselves.
Yeah. Absolutely. You just gave them enough to imagine, and the mind of the person imagining it runs wild and does a lot of the work for you, like Alfred Hitchcock felt about a lot of his.
Well, yeah, no, there's a great, if you get some of the great Hitchcock movies on video and you get the special features for Family Plot, there's a great interview with Bruce Dern. And there's a scene in that movie where somebody fixed his brakes so he's going to drive off a mountain if he's not careful. And he talks about how they shot it. And he assumed, like every other car chase scene he'd ever done as an actor, they were going to put, cameras on the outside and cameras on the inside and shoot a second unit car. And Hitchcock said, no. Hitchcock said, I have a sign like that. Hitchcock said, the audience doesn't get to watch it from the outside. If they're in the car with you, it's much scarier. And almost the entire sequence is shot from Dern's POV out the windshield, which not only is more effective, but it's quicker and cheaper. Yeah. But you see those white signs. I happen to own one with my name on it. But when I got it, when I was doing something at Universal, was right after Mr. Hitchcock passed, and his sign was still there. So I pulled his out and put it in the trunk and put mine in, and I've still got both of them. So one of these days, I'm going to get a local framing guy to do me a hell of a shadow box of before and after. But anyway.
That's fantastic. And I believe that bungalow right there that has Alfred Hitchcock's visage on it, I think that's where Steven Spielberg operates out of now.
Spielberg has that whole Amblin complex. I don't know. Yeah. It seems to me this is over where Nintendo World is now, but I could be wrong.
Oh no! This is way on the opposite side.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway.
Yeah.
Oh yes, SG's talking about the Hitchcock show at Universal, which was at Florida, which was great. Yeah. Which was absolutely great. But Bates Motel soap. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Those nasty stains in the shower from the previous occupant.
I think somebody... yeah, exactly. Somebody playing George McFly last night was actually... I think he does work being basically the psycho in the Bates Motel right there. So the double...
Well, for a while, the last time I took the tram tour, which is many years ago now, they had a whole sequence at the motel part. Whereas you came by in the tram, a guy came out with a bundle and shoved it in the trunk of the car. And, you thought you were watching Mr. Bates doing away with his handiwork. So which was pretty edgy for the studio tour, I thought. But
it's still there. They still do it.
Yeah, they still do
great.
It. Oh, yeah.
But
obviously
I think the same
popular.
Guy, the same thing that was doing that was also playing George McFly, which I always thought, that's appropriate. Because the guy who played George McFly, he was, I heard he was a very interesting guy, for sure. What is it? Crispin Glover.
So are they all interesting guys.
Indeed. Very eccentric. Hollywood, that is.
So did we get any questions from anybody in our fabulous email from which they're supposed to send them at all lately?
I can check really quickly if somebody...
We ought to share the email again so people know. Oh, and we forgot to mention the JukeBox.
Oh, the JukeBox. Of course,
as you may know, we found a way around getting demonetized by playing music by basically linking to other people who don't seem to care who play music. And today I thought it's springtime, it's nice, it's bright, it's cheerful. And I put up the suite of the music from the wonderful French movie Borsalino, which is Jean-Paul Belmondo and Alain Delon. And they are kind of small-time crooks who decide they're going to take over the big gang. And as you know, Borsalino is the brand, the style of hat that was worn in those days. But Claude Bolling did this wonderful music. And if you want to look at the link, it's in the description.
Give me 1 second. I'll go ahead and post in the chat for all.
And you can play some fun music to cheer up your springtime Sunday and your Mother's Day. And by the way, happy to all of you mothers and grandmothers and just you mothers. Happy Mother's Day to you too.
Let me go ahead and post it.
Maybe you're a brother and maybe you're a mother, but you're staying alive. Anyway.
Here you go. There's the a link for LEW'S Backlot JukeBox this time.
The jukebox, yeah.
And you can see right here. I thought I was sharing this on screen, but I wasn't. There you go. Right there. You should have the right link. That would be absolutely fantastic if you check that out.
Borsalino. Great movie, by the way. You got to watch it sometime.
Yes.
Speaking of movies, we did a great one here just last night. We recorded for the never-ending cavalcade of hits that is the Genre Guys. And we did the really wonderful, and I forgot how good it was till I watched it again, Ford versus Ferrari with, of course,
so good.
Great people. And I found a critical quote from, I think it was, I forget if it was Variety or somewhere else, but somebody said the secret to a great sports movie is that it's not about the sport, it's about the personalities. And that is certainly true of that movie. And next up, we're going to deal with a whole lot of whiskey traveling across the West with a movie whose tagline was How the West Was Fun. And after that, Mary Poppins. And after that, one of my favorite wonderful fantasies directed by George Pal, The Seven Faces of Dr. Lowe. So we have that and much, much more coming. But there's, Ford versus Ferrari, which if you are a member on the Pro channel, you get to watch as soon as it gets posted, I guess, later this week. Or I might be one ahead of the postings there. And eventually it shows up here too. So even if you're not a member.
If you haven't watched Ford versus Ferrari, you should absolutely watch it.
Man, we were sitting there going, now what about this scene? And what about this scene? And I thought, how many movies do you look at and you say, well, there were these 2 great scenes or 3 great scenes, but this is just one after another, after another, after another. And wow, is it good. Wow, is it good.
James Mangold, that is almost
talented guy when they give him material that's worth being talented for. And not so much when they tell him to make Indy into a doddering old cynic.
I'll be honest there, Lou. Christian Bale and Matt Damon, far better.
Well, sure. And I was saying during our show last night, Matt Damon, because of his experience in so many great ensemble movies, is okay with being really, really good and yet knowing the other guy's stealing the show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's a good listener. He's a good reactor. And that is true in this movie and then some. And
how often do you have somebody like Matt Damon do something like Interstellar and not show up until like the 2/3 mark? That's pretty crazy.
To play a schmuck.
To play a schmuck, and he does it well. And he sucks you right into the character. And it's just absolutely awesome, and it's absolutely fantastic. I'm looking here for at least one question.
And that's the address, everybody, on your screen right now, T3P Online at yahoo.com. If you have questions about the biz and about what you think the biz does and how it really does it, that's sort of the main purpose of being here for me. But I obviously wander into other topics and situations.
Now you can say we both wandered because we did.
Well, we literally went to the backlot as you did. So there you go.
Yes, I thought that was appropriate.
Yeah.
But you never know. Let me go ahead and share a little bit more of that footage right there before we depart. Let's see here. I'm actually, by the way, to play that footage, I'm using my editor and my editing wheel, which is pretty convenient. And
your editing wheel.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, when I see I hear the word wheel and I see the Universal Backlot, I think of the Name of the Game and the Bold Ones and all of those so-called wheel shows,
See?
But
the wheel right there. You can see that. So let's see here. Let's see. Oh, okay. Paul Urbans. here, a little bit late to the game, but I do apologize. He says, Taki on Paul's podcast is reporting that Disney is in talks with the BBC to take control, essentially buying Doctor Who. They want to pick the Doctor, the showrunner, and have full control of back episodes. Now, Lou, maybe you can tell us, to buy out something like that would be quite the rights deal, because you get to buy the entire
BBC
franchise.
must be really broke if they're contemplating that.
Yeah, I would think so, because, yeah.
Brass Bottle is good too, 40's Mandalorian, but I think Dr. Lowe is even better.
I think that's pretty significant right there. So that's a very, very interesting. I'll have to go through some of this, some more of this mail, and we can make that the feature of the show for next week.
Goody.
But you can email us, like Lou was mentioning before, at t3ponline@yahoo.com. That's the one on the screen right there. And yes, we have new episodes of the Genre Guys. They are, when I say new,
what's
new
next
for this channel? Superman is still on deck. It's still coming out. So
that's a goodie.
one. That's the one that's going to be hitting this channel very, very soon. And T3PO Live on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. following the pro show. So definitely hit the subscribe button. Great content in the works right there. And
you know, we forgot one thing.
Yes.
We should say a big thank you to Culture for filling in for you last week.
Oh,
Not that
yes.
hard for him to do because he's so wonderful, but it was great. I said at the time, I promised that he wouldn't Wally Pip you, and people who knew what that was laughed, and people who didn't don't. But anyway, he was great, and he's always great on everything he does. A dear friend, just as you are.
Absolutely. Big thanks and shout out to Culture Casino for doing that. That was wonderful of him to do. That's not easy to do that, to get the call, and I think it was 10 o'clock his time. Okay, can you do this? And he was able to make that happen in 12 hours or so from that point on. So thank you so much. I
involved myself not in the least with the backstage stuff. I like it that way.
Yeah. Yep.
Folks, you understand, I never know what we're going to talk about, really. I see the thumbnail he creates, and I get sort of a sense of it. This is all spontaneous. This is all just me and you talking like we would if we was in Poison. Yeah. And so, if my ancient cultural references. Hey, I resemble that remark.
It is LW.
I actually had a friend who was on the DeLorean grand jury.
Really?
Yeah, and he smuggled out drawings of the car and all kinds of stuff. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's quite the thing. And see, this is where Ken Reichardt's earlier comment right here is really appropriate, talking about powdery substances. And there you go. Real dog, actually.
Yes.
I thought that's pretty good.
Although he's so still, you'd hardly know. He might as well have been stuffed. But
well, he's got to look for the camera.
Yeah.
He can't blink with the flash.
Well, there you go.
We very much thank you for joining us here on Hollywood Backlot with Lou and you. As you can see, a backlot right there, utilized for a very different purpose, but obviously for the enjoyment of people who visit and take part. That's really, really cool. Thank you so much, and we will see you on this show. Same bat channel, same bat time, as Lou would say. That's going to be, 11 a.m. on
Holy
Pacific
Echo.
What's
No, I meant when you said what I would say about Batman, but
yeah.
What can I say?
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
Anyway, I love that.
Oh, I love it too. 2 p.m. On Sunday right there, and we will see you all next time. Thank you so much for joining us. And that's about it.
Adios, muchachas.
Subscribe, all that stuff. Thanks, guys.